This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
The European Union expects to have its regulations completed in time for the introduction of a G7 plan to cap the price of Russian crude oil on December 5, the EU's energy policy chief told Reuters. The EU will ban Russian crude imports from that date, and Russian oil products from February 5, depriving Russia of oil revenues and forcing one of the world's top oil producers and exporters to seek alternative markets. In addition, a G7 plan, intended as an add-on to the EU embargo, will allow shipping services providers to help to export Russian oil, but only at enforced low prices. This is also set to take effect on December 5.
The European Union expects to have its regulations completed in time for the introduction of a G7 plan to cap the price of Russian crude oil on December 5, the EU's energy policy chief told Reuters. The EU will ban Russian crude imports from that date, and Russian oil products from February 5, depriving Russia of oil revenues and forcing one of the world's top oil producers and exporters to seek alternative markets. In addition, a G7 plan, intended as an add-on to the EU embargo, will allow shipping services providers to help to export Russian oil, but only at enforced low prices. This is also set to take effect on December 5.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
China's exports of diesel fuel in October were nearly double the year-ago level, though less than in September, while aviation fuel exports jumped 39%, thanks to new official quotas. Diesel fuel exports last month totaled 1.06 million tons, well below September's 1.73 million tons but up from 560,000 tons a year earlier, according to customs data. Rapid growth in diesel exports since August has thinned domestic inventories of the fuel. Refiners have been raising diesel production in November both to replenish stocks and in order to take advantage of still robust export margins.
Climate negotiators on Friday were mulling a European Union proposal aimed at resolving an impasse over financing for countries hit by climate-fueled disasters and pushing the UN Climate Summit in Egypt closer to a final deal. The EU proposal agreed to set up a special fund for covering loss and damage in the most vulnerable countries, but funded from a broad donor base. That suggests high-emitting emerging economies like China would have to contribute, rather than having the fund financed only by rich nations that have historically contributed the most to global warming.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Global miners and Chinese smelters could set higher annual treatment and refining charges, TC/RCs, in 2023 as rising copper concentrate supply is expected to outpace smelting capacity growth. The TC/RC's benchmark, referenced in supply contracts globally, is usually taken from the first settlement between a major miner and a smelter in top copper consumer China in annual negotiations. 2023 undeniably looks like a strong year for concentrate growth. Moreover, it comes at a time of limited Chinese smelter capacity addition, said Colin Hamilton, a managing director at BMO Capital Markets. India scrapped export taxes on low-grade iron ore and on some intermediate steel products beginning Saturday, after months of complaints from miners and steelmakers about loss of foreign sales opportunities. The move, set out in a notification issued late on Friday, reverses the imposition in May of a 50% tax on exports of iron ore lumps and fines with less than 58% iron content. The government also reversed a May rise in export tax on iron ore concentrates other than roasted iron pyrites. That tax now returns to 30% from 50%.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Indian farmers have so far planted wheat and rapeseed on nearly 15% more area than a year ago, the latest data from the Farm Ministry showed, as planting of winter-sown crops accelerated. Higher wheat production in India, the world's second biggest producer of the staple, could help New Delhi to lower prices and replenish inventories that have fallen to a multi-year low. A rise in rapeseed output could help the world's biggest edible oil importer to reduce overseas buying of palm oil, soy oil and sunflower oil. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.